What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. Anthony Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn, aka Eddie the Con Artist, has come out and said that he hopes to get an exception from the WBO in order for his fighter AJ to take on Tyson Fury for Undisputed. Now, several weeks ago, Alexander Usyk, who is currently the number one WBO mandatory contender, his manager came out and said, look, first order of business is to defeat Derek Chisora. Once we do that, we're going to push hard for our shot at the champion, Anthony Joshua, who holds the WBO title. If he's unwilling to take on that challenge, then we're willing to fight the next available top-ranked opponent in the WBO for the vacant WBO heavyweight title. So it sounds to me like Team Usyk, they're not going to step aside again. They stepped aside for Anthony Joshua to take on Kubrat Pulev December the 12th. I think people fail to realize that. Usyk wanted his shot December the 12th. But him and his team agreed to step aside as long as they get the winner of Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev December the 12th. Now, it's known that AJ and Tyson Fury have basically made an agreement to fight twice in 2021. They're looking to fight in either April or May, according to Eddie Hearn, who's the promoter of AJ, and the promoter of Tyson Fury, Bob Arum. They're both looking at the first quarter of 2021. Eddie Hearn said April. I think Bob Arum said May. So somewhere in April, May, somewhere in that time frame, they'll be looking to stage Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. But first order of business is AJ's got to beat Kubrat Pulev, and they need Derek Chisora to upset Alexander Usyk. If that happens, then pretty much all obstacles will be out the way. First obstacle was Dillian White. He was pushing for his mandatory spot with the WBC to fight Tyson Fury. He got put to sleep without the NyQuil by Alexander Povetkin in Eddie Hearn's backyard about a month and a half ago. So that obstacle got removed. Now they need another obstacle to be removed, and a lot of people are looking at Derek Chisora as a live dog in that matchup with Alexander Usyk, who's a top pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what transpires as far as that matchup goes this Saturday. But as far as Anthony Joshua versus Fury or Anthony Joshua versus Usyk, that is going to be an interesting dilemma if Usyk prevails this Saturday. On one hand, Eddie Hearn wants all those titles to be on the line if AJ is going to fight Tyson Fury. He wants, if AJ is successful, he's the undisputed, has all the belts in his grabs, in his hands, if he's able to defeat Tyson Fury. On the other hand, if Usyk doesn't move off his stance and says, nah, I'm next, you either fight me or vacate, then he's going to have to give up that belt. Will Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing be willing to give up that belt and fight Tyson Fury without the WBO title? That's the question that needs to be answered. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to boil down to this. If Alexander Usyk looks vulnerable in his matchup with Derek Chisora, he can win the fight but look vulnerable. He looked vulnerable against Chaz Witherspoon. He won the fight, but he looked very vulnerable. He looked like a smaller man coming up, fighting bigger guys, didn't really have any kind of pop on his punches, looked very sluggish with the added weight. He looked like he looked like a little guy coming up fighting bigger guys in that matchup with Chaz Witherspoon. And he didn't look that great against Tony Bellew, his last fight at cruiserweight, as Tony Bellew was winning the fight on my scorecard before getting knocked out. If he looks similar to he looked in those two fights, then I think Anthony Joshua and his team, preferably Eddie Hearn, who's basically calling the shots. Make no mistake about it. He's calling the shots, ladies and gentlemen. I said this in a video several months ago that Anthony Joshua has a slave contract with Matchroom Boxing. A lot of people got in my comment section and said, what do you mean? He's the highest paid athlete in boxing. He's making more money than Deontay Wilder. How you can say he's got a slave contract? I'm not talking about the money. I'm talking about, does he have a say-so on who he fights? I don't think he has a say-so on who he fights. Whatever Matchroom says his opponent's going to be, that's who AJ is going to fight. Because you can't tell me he would have rather fight Big Baby Miller before Big Baby Miller got popped for steroids and then he fought Andy Ruiz. Rather fight them than fight Deontay Wilder and get $50 million. that was offered to him, and him and his team turned it down. You can't tell me that he would have took that contract, but his team turned that down, and his team has final say-so on who he fights. And you can't tell me no different. That's just my opinion. Let's get back to the matter at hand. So if Usyk wins and he looks vulnerable, then I think Eddie Hearn and them, if the WBO don't give him the exception, I think they put AJ in there with Usyk. And if that's the case, then you're going to see Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury 3. If Tyson Fury wins his fight on December 5th, and say Wilder takes a fight in late December or early January against Robert Helenius or Otto Wilder, and he's successful, look for Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3. It all going to come down to how Usyk looks. If Usyk looks like a killer against Derek Chisora this Saturday, looks very impressive, looks like the Alexander Usyk that won that tournament, looks like the Alexander Usyk that was on everybody's pound-for-pound list, Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua are not going to take that fight. They're not going to take a chance of losing all their belts to Usyk and never getting the fight that the UK public has been looking for a long time now. A heavyweight title match featuring 2 UK guys for all the titles in the heavyweight division. It hasn't ever happened, I don't think, in UK history. If it did happen, it might have happened a long time ago. But I doubt if this has ever happened in UK history. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty much sure it never happened in UK boxing history. So that's going to be a fight that's going to be looked forward to for all the UK British boxing fans. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. But it's all going to come down to how Usyk looks. If he looks great and he puts on an impressive performance, AJ going to drop that belt and he's going to fight Tyson Fury, and it won't be for Undisputed. If Usyk looks vulnerable against Derek Chisora, takes some punishment, maybe even get dropped and wins a close decision, and a lot of people maybe feel that Chisora won that fight, kind of like the Chisora-Dillian White first fight, where a lot of people thought Chisora won the fight, including myself, then maybe they going to take care of Usyk and get that win, get another payday, and satisfy their WBO mandatory, and then take on Tyson Fury. That's going to put Tyson Fury in limbo, but Tyson Fury still has Deontay Wilder as a backup plan. He could take on Wilder. That's a big money fight for him after the fight on the 5th, and the winner of that will take on Anthony Joshua for Undisputed. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. But again, Anthony Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn, is out here with the smoke and mirrors, basically saying a lot but not revealing a lot. Saying that, look, we're going to go to Team Usyk if we're victorious, and they're victorious this Saturday night, and ask them, will they let us fight Tyson Fury in April? But the question that Usyk team needs to ask Eddie Hearn once he comes to them and ask them that favor is, I've heard that you're doing a 2-fight deal with Tyson Fury. It's not going to just be one fight in April. You might fight in April and then fight again in September. And that's going to put me out the picture until 2022. So people have got to, when people make statements, come back and say, look, you saying you're going to ask Usyk team to give you an exception and let you fight Tyson Fury in April. But then you just said a couple of days ago that you're going to fight Fury twice. So you actually need Usyk to step aside not only for April, but step aside for September too, because you're going to do a 2-fight deal. So it's just a lot of things and a lot of unanswered questions that need to be answered. But the bottom line is, look forward to this matchup this Saturday between Alexander Usyk versus Derek Chisora, because this fight is going to set the stage for if Tyson Fury and AJ actually fights in April or May of 2021. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Hit the thumbs up button if you like the content of this video. And subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I'll holla.